Welcome back, boys and girls, to part 2 of building our KVM-based GNS3 server. So, now that we have our GNS3 server running, it's ready to rock, mostly, except for the fact that it has no images. And obviously, it's cool that it's running GNS3 server. It'd be even cooler if we could do stuff with it. So, let's do stuff with it. I'm going to go over to my viral machine here. So, OpenStack, guys. Watch me fumble through my commands. The first thing we need to do is we're going to do glance image list. Can't remember if there's a hyphen or not. Let's find out. There is a hyphen. So glance image list. Let me make this terminal bigger so things are legible. So you can see on this fine GNS3 server, or this fine viral server, we have ASAV, CSR1000V, IOS-XRv, IOS-V. Well, you can read. You get the idea. We have many things. Let's take the things from viral and put them on GNS3 server. So I'm going to clear, actually, I'll leave this up. All right, so let's start off with IOS-V. We're going to do glance image dash download dash dash file. Here is going to be the file name. And yeah, we said we're going to do IOS-V first. So file name, we'll say IOS-V.qcal2. And then followed by the name of the image in glance, which is IOS-V. Put that right there. And it's relatively quick. We're going to rinse and repeat. We'll do this for VL2. L2. We'll go ahead and grab, let's do the ASA, QCal2, ASAV. We'll take NXOSV, QCal2, NXOSV. I'm not going to do this for the CSR only because I have that running in VirtualBox just fine, and I'm okay with that. You could do this with the CSR 1000V though. So IOS-XRv QCal2. Image name, and I'm going to put it in quotations because of the space, is IOS-XRv. This one takes a minute, so I'm going to pause the video. All right, and that's done. So I can do an ls-l, and I'll grep out QCal2. You can see that we have ASA, IOS-L2, iOS, IOS-XR, and XOSV. Let's make GNS3 great again. So I'm going to go to GNS3 server. Remember what the IP on this thing was. It's 192.168.253.133. I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to use SCP to move these images over. So I'll do SCP asterisk dot QCal2. John Major, that's me, at 192.168.253.133. I'll type in my super secret password, and I'll start transferring these images over. Fantastic! They're all moved over, which means we can turn this off. Goodbye, viral. Forever. So I'll do a quick ls on here, make sure that they're all here. Hey, look, they're all here. I'm going to fire up GNS3. Cancel out of that. I'm going to go to Edit, Preferences, Server. I'm going to click Remote Server. Surprise. 192.168.253.133 is my server. Yours will likely have a different IP address. I'll click Add. I'm going to click Apply. And then I'm going to skip all this iOS on Unix nonsense and go all the way down to QEMU VMs. I'm going to say that the server type is remote. Let's do the IOS-V and IOS-VL2 images first. So they actually have some of these pre-built options, which is handy. So IOS-V is the pre-built option that we'll pick here. We'll press next. We'll give it a name like IOS-V. Dun, dun, dun. I have to update my GNS3 client, which means movie magic. And we're back. Okay, so edit, preferences. My server still there? My server is still there. All right, so QEMU VMs. I'm going to click on new. I'm going to leave server type as remote. From type, I'll use this option for IOS-V. Name VIOS, that's perfectly fine. For QEMU binary, for this one, leaving it i386 is just fine. Some of the other VMs you'll want to switch to 64-bit. Notice the incredible amount of RAM that it requires to run IOS-V, 384 meg. All right, so it's going to ask for the path to the IOS-V MDK file. We're not using a VMDK file, we're using a QCal2 image. That's totally okay. Keep in mind, you don't want to click on Browse for this because GNS3 doesn't really care where the images are in relation to your machine. It wants to know where the images are on the server. So for that, I'm actually going to su into root really quick. And I want to say that there's a directory already. Yep, so there's a GNS3 directory, so we'll cd into GNS3. We're going to make the directory images. We'll cd into images. We're going to make the directory for QEMU. We'll cd into QEMU. And then we're just going to copy, or actually we'll move all of the QCal2 images from my home directory here. Make sure they're all here. Hey, they're all here. And I'm just going to change owner really quick. I don't think you actually have to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Root. Okay. And change group too. It helps if you type the right command for that. So our permissions look like they're right for root because that's actually what the GNS3 server process is running under. We'll print the working directory, which is root, GNS3, images, QEMU. Now the moment we can see if my bidirectional clipboard is working with the VM. Hey, it is. And then it wants the actual file name, which the file name for this one is IOS-V QCal2. And we'll click Finish. And then what you're going to want to do with every single one of these VMs that you create is you want to go to Advanced Settings. Under Options, you're going to do a dash, enable, dash, KVM. If you don't do that, some of them won't even boot. If they do, they'll be incredibly slow. So make sure you enable KVM. It's literally the entire purpose of doing it this way. All right, so then we'll go through, and I'm going to pause the video. I'm just going to do everything that I just did for the other VMs. I'll save the IOS-XR one and show you how you can change what option it shows up under so it doesn't come up as just like a host PC or something. Actually, I had a change of heart. So for iOS L2, I did the exact same thing as iOS. I just changed the image. I'm going to add the ASA now. For this, you'll notice there's ASA 4.2. Don't do that. Leave it as type default. We're going to click Next. We'll give it a name, ASA V. Press Next. It needs 200. I'm trying to think. It needs at least 2 gigs of RAM. But I'm going to give it about 2.5 gigs of RAM. For the QEMU binary, change this to 64-bit. We'll press Next. And then it's asking where the image is at. For that, it's going to be root, GNS3, images, QEMU, and I think the name is ASAV, QCal2. Press Finish. Now what you want to do is you want to change the symbol. We'll change the symbol to ASA, and then next to category, don't leave this as end devices, otherwise it'll show up here. We're going to change this to security devices so it shows up where we would expect it in the security devices category. Other things that we want to do, network, I want to give mine 10 interfaces, and we want to enable KVM. So now I'm going to pause it. I'll add an IOS-XR and NXOS, and then we'll actually boot a couple of these up, make sure they work. Okay, so I have IOS-XR, I have NXOS, I have ASA, and I have iOS and IOS-L2 images. Special note for IOS-XR, NXOS, and ASA, make sure they are all using QEMU system x86-64. Has to be 64-bit for these three. iOS and IOS-L2, you can leave it 32-bit if you so please. So I'm going to double-click Apply. You'll notice that I did change the symbol and category for all these devices. That way they show up where we would expect them. And I'm going to press OK. Let's get a quick baseline. I'll go back to my GNS3 server here. I'm going to bring up Task Manager. It's running at 380 meg right now. Let's fire up a couple of VMs. Let's do some interesting ones like IOS-XR. We'll pull in our ASA, and what else do we want to do? We'll do iOS L2, and then we'll skip. I'll do NXOS in another video, and show you guys how that works. We'll do some stuff with Fabric Path or something. So let's cable them up. I'm going to do Ethernet 1 for both of these, to avoid any issue with like picking a management interface or something. And let's power them online. Hopefully we don't get any errors. We got errors! Hooray! IOS-XRv QCOW2 is not available. That's because I typed the wrong path. Deleteify. Hold on. Let's go back to Preferences. Edit. This is Images QEMU. Okay, now let's boot everything up. So we got IOS-XR. We're going to use a L2 image and an ASA. I had Gig 1 interfaces where it would be the ones that we used. Now, let's power them up. Looks like all three start up okay. We'll go to our GNS3 server. You can see memory is slowly climbing up. We would expect this to get to around about 5 gig or so. Probably about 5 gig of RAM used once everything's up and actually boot it. So IOS-XR looks like it's starting up just fine. Wow, the font on that is freaking huge, isn't it? Gotta scale that down. Looks like our ASA is booting. L2 image is still booting. I'm actually going to pause the video and fix that font. That's horrendous. And there was an error with my ASA. I'm going to delete him out really quick. I did forget about this. So on the ASA actually is limited to only 2 gigs of RAM when you get the image from Viral. So don't use more than 2048. And we'll bring him back in and see if we can't get that up and running now. Oh, that's right, because the image is up. Hold, please. So we'll stop you. Connect that. Start him back up. Let's see how IOS-XR is getting along. Looks like it's just fine. Running our 5.3 image. So let's get a quick config on there. So gig 0000 should be the second available interface. I think the management eats up the first interface when you're looking at the GNS3 side. So let's go into that. We'll say hostname IOS-XRv. Super original, I know. We'll go into int. We'll no shut that, and we'll give it an IP address of 10.0.0.0.1 /24. We'll commit those changes. All right. Actually, I'm going to enable CDP also. So let that hang out for a second. We'll come back to our L2 image, which is already up. Let's give it a host name of IOS-XRv L2. Again, incredibly original. Spanning tree mode MST, because why not? Do int range gig 0.1 through 2. We'll do spanning tree port fast. No CDP entries yet. Almost typed clear like I'm on Linux. All right, and then we'll bring up our ASAV. Looks like he's all booted. Do a show ver there. I think he's 9.3. And again, I think the first interface gets eaten up by management on the ASA also, so gig 00 should still be the guy. Let's no shut him really quick. Yep. And I'm going to just give it a nameth of inside. IP address will be 10.0.0.0.10, or how about 254? Why not? Okay, I already know shut it. And we'll permit all ICMP inside. Come back over here, show CDP neighbors. Do I have CDP yet? I don't have CDP yet. Very interesting. Let's try and ping 10.0.0.1, which is the IP of IOS-XRv. That works. Just to make sure that I'm not lying to you guys, we'll do a look at ARP real quick. F101. Let's do a show int on gig 000. F101. So there you go. I have IOS-XR, I have the latest and greatest ASA, and I have an L2 image, all running in GNS3, all via KVM, and the best part, it is perfectly legal. And when I say perfectly legal, I mean I assume that taking the images out of viral is okay, so let's just say that it's mostly legal. Until next time, guys, I hope this was helpful.